What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of MUT Tips. I'm your host, Sean Taylor from the Made Up Theater, and before we jump in, make sure to like the video down below, leave a comment, and as always, subscribe on YouTube down below to be informed of upcoming videos and live streams. Ring that bell. Now, let's jump into today's topic, 3 tips to yes and the absurd. We are taught the concept of yes and on day 1 of any intro to improvisational course, where we accept that first offer that's laid forward and then add on to it to create a reality, because there's no script, so accepting leads to progress. But that doesn't mean yes and we have to strictly say yes to the offers that are presented to us, and then also comes into effect when we're talking about an absurd offer to start the scene. An improv colleague of mine brought up something that happened in a class that they teach, where a scene started with the first person offering this absurd choice of, hey, let's drink that salt water. And their scene partner yes-anded it and accepted and said, yeah, sure, let's do it, And that got the scene started in agreement, but they realized, where do we go now? We've accepted this absurd thing, and it's difficult to figure out what the next beat of the scene is. So let's talk about 3 ways we can yes and this choice of drinking salt water, which is something that you are definitely not supposed to do in real life. So first of all, we want to obviously yes and. Everything that I'm about to say right now is going to be a form of yes and. We do not want to deny that choice, okay? And that comes in the form of hey, let's drink this salt water. And your scene partner being like, what are you talking about? That's lava from that active volcano. That is saying no to the first offer, denying that reality, and making it what I want. And that's something we don't want to do. Even though I'm about to bring up a few instances of, saying no in a sense, it's coming from a character point of view, not the improviser's point of view. So let's start with yes and through total agreement. I sometimes like to push for this because I enjoy the dynamic of 2 peas in a pod, having that same idea, same philosophy, same type of character, maybe wants. I like to have that with my scene partner rather than finding conflict immediately with them in the scene. And yeah, there is that downside of where do we go next? Now, you could technically have a third party enter the scene and be kind of like the person who establishes this as a fish out of water scenario. Like a person who comes in and is just like, what the hell are you doing? You're drinking salt water? And that is now a game that we can play. These 2 are like the weirdos, the absurd people in this reality who are going against the norm of drinking, water with no salt in it. But I want to focus on just these 2 people on stage doing this scene with no outside contribution. No third person entering, no third person doing a tag out, just these 2 people on the stage with no assistance. Think of it as like a duo prov show. If this is how the scene starts, there's a few things that we can figure out or start to explore or discover in the scene. So since we now know these 2 characters in this situation, we can discover more about these characters and more about how they feel with the if-then approach. If these 2 characters feel this way about saltwater, in this case, they like it, then how do they feel about other things, like the world at large? Or, other types of water, or just, we'll get more into their point of view and even just their overall character. So the scene might start with hey, let's go have some salt water. Oh, indubitably. Let's go ahead and have a drink. And then they go, oh yes, I'm so glad we gave up that pedestrian tap water in favor of something more savory. And the scene partner would be like, yes, gone are the days of canker sores. And so we have a setup for these 2 characters. They're a little bit pompous. They seem kind of upper class. They're treating salt water as though it's like wine. And that's a fun kind of parallel to discover with something more absurd. Now that we know more about these characters, they're like 2 rich people who treat salt water is like a delicacy, just like wine. Now we get to discover them more through bold choices. We can take advantage of a snowball effect and just make these characters bigger and bigger based on how they react to stuff. So for example, how do they react to water that isn't salt water? Maybe it just starts to rain and you're just like, oh goodness, get it off me, and then now it's rain is treated almost like acid water to them. Or, the idea that the salt water is like wine, we can treat other things around that environment. Maybe the sand is kind of treated like caviar. It's all just taking, what's there already. It's kind of interesting to see these 2 characters treat something that is so plentiful, like the ocean water or sand, but they're treating it as though it's like a delicacy. and us normal people don't indulge in it even though it's there, and they think that it's because like they're not worthy of it. But we're more wise to it, is we don't taste that stuff, we don't put that stuff in our mouth because we're smarter than they are. But it's fun to see these two characters have that mentality that they are more high status and high class. Another way that you can do this is yes and by being conflicted. I've mentioned this before in other videos. You can accept offers and show like your emotional perspective as you're accepting it. A lot of like protagonists in movies do this sometimes. Like they'll do something, but they're aware that it might not be good, but as they do it, it's kind of like, it's a flaw in them. They're like being swayed by somebody, some character to do something, even though it may not benefit them. Like maybe they're like, hey, come on, you want to drink this salt water with me? And then you decide as a conflicted character to be like, oh man, oh shit, are you sure? Is that like what all the cool kids are doing? Oh yeah, drinking salt water is all trendy nowadays. You want to be cool, right? Oh yeah, I guess I want to be cool. So now we have two very different types of characters, not two rich people. We have someone who's treating the salt water almost like a drug of some sort, and a kid who wants to be cool and fit in. But they're showing that point of view, right? They're low status, and they want to be high status, but they also are at odds with like, is this morally right to drink salt water? And that's a fun little parallel. We can treat this absurdity and draw a parallel to like a real life thing in terms of like drug use or being swayed through peer pressure. And that's funny, that's comedy. And last but not least, you can yes and by saying no, which you might think, wait a minute, no is the opposite of yes. Yeah, but that doesn't mean we are not contributing to the scene by saying no. We are. We're showing a character's point of view. It's kind of similar to that video I did on WTF. We have those moments on stage and absurd choices offered, and us as people are like, what the f***? Come on, that's an odd thing. You can't drink that salt water. It's gonna make you sick. So by conveying a strong point of view that goes against another strong point of view, we have like a status battle. It's like a straight-laced character versus an absurd or wild card character. It's like the buddy cop mentality. These two are polar opposites of each other. Now let's put them together and see them mesh. And we can work towards some interesting conclusions. Like, I don't know, maybe the absurd character realizes, hey, I've learned that I shouldn't drink salt water. That's a bad thing. Or I think it's more funny. It would be interesting to see the straight-laced character possibly pivot and start drinking salt water. And maybe they're like, you know what? This isn't that bad. It's pretty tantalizing to my taste buds. There's interesting things that we can explore with no. Don't think of it as you're actually saying no. I've heard it described this way before. I've said it in past videos. Think of it as no-K. You're saying yes to the situation, but as a character, you're saying no. It can create great potential for comedic scenes because we as people in the audience can relate to countering absurdity with more of a grounded, truth to what we know. And that concludes this episode of MUT Tips, everybody. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really appreciate it. Again, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another episode of MUT Tips. Bye.